What is up, guys? Welcome to the 4th edition of the Wildcat Wire. I'm Jake Janasek, and I'm here with Nate Thomas, and today we're going to talk about our reaction to the Troy-Nebraska game.
Yeah, it's been a tough one this past weekend. I mean, Nebraska came in he was going to play at quarterback. Adrian Martinez never got into the game. Andrew Bunch played all 60 minutes, and Nebraska just wasn't quite able to get it done, losing 24-19. And it's just, we weren't really frustrated. We were just kind of like, well, is this really what it's going to be? But, I mean, everyone's just saying, this Nebraska team, you're going to have to trust the process. Scott Frost has a vision for this team, and we're just not quite, we're making steps, but we're still not quite there yet.
Yeah, there's still a lot to work on. In this game, I had some friends that went there. I was just watching on TV, so I don't really get to understand the full thing. But, the offense with Andrew Bunch just seemed really slow. It wasn't really the fast pace that we kind of saw last week against Colorado with Adrian Martinez. Also, the defense was kind of disappointing, too. Kind of surprising that the D-line didn't play kind of at their top speed. Same with on the offense side, the O-line definitely struggled this week. There's just a lot of mistakes that kind of came back, and I know Scott Frost said that their practice this week was a lot better than last week, but it's kind of hard to believe that just kind of the way they came out.
Yeah, and I mean initially the coaching staff in their press conferences said, "Hey, this is our fault. We didn't quite get them ready enough to play in this game." But we've seen a lot of players come out and say, "No, you should put the blame on us, not on the coaching staff, because there's a certain point where we need to perform, and we didn't quite play at our top level this week." But I mean, it's just been mistakes. Nebraska has been shooting themselves in the foot mostly, and they were able to come up with their first two true turnovers of the year against Troy with the fumble and the interception. But they still turned it over 3 times. They had 10 penalties for 77 yards. You just can't quite make these mistakes. And I think that's something that Nebraska needs to clean up. They still put up 364 yards of total offense. Andrew Bunch threw for 177 and 2 touchdowns with those 2 interceptions. But it just seemed like it was super slow. They could never really get... I mean, Andrew Bunch's stats look a lot better than what he actually performed. He didn't quite look like what we thought he was going to be for Nebraska this week. And I mean, I'm just going to say this. He played like he was an inexperienced walk-on, which is what he was.
Yeah, that's pretty much how he played. Nebraska got down 17-0 to Troy. I thought we were getting blown out after that 17-0 start. We just did not seem like we were in with it. Our offense was struggling 3 and out. Penalties, like you said with penalties, they really hurt Nebraska. A lot of holding calls on the offensive line. And, overall, Nebraska just couldn't really get it done. Because, I mean, also with Adrian Martinez not coming in, you kind of have to... I don't know if either Scott Frost just didn't want to take a chance, or was Adrian just really that injured?
Yeah, we never really found out anything, why hasn't he come into the game, was he going to at all? But, I mean, that 17-0 start killed Nebraska, and you think their 2 touchdowns came off. One was a punt return, in which there's 4 or 5 missed tackles. Nebraska had an opportunity to get him down, after gaining only a yard on that. And, their second one, that drive was aided by 2 personal foul penalties that gave them automatic first downs. These are just kind of the mistakes that you can't really make. There's just a few things, you got to clean up, but this could have easily been a game that Nebraska, we could be saying differently. Nebraska could have their first win in the Scott Frost era.
Yeah. But also, you kind of have to talk about special teams, too.
That special teams group was not good again.
Yeah, Barrett Pickering, that's how you say it. He kind of struggled with the kicking game. He missed an early field goal that could have helped out Nebraska a lot, gave him some momentum. And he's supposed to be like a 5-star.
Yeah, he's a
good
5-star
kicker.
He's a 5-star kicker from Alabama, and he had offers from Alabama to go there. And so I think we expected a lot more coming from him, like being a 5-star. Like, you're recruited by some of the top teams in that area, and you're coming to Nebraska. Like, we expect more from him, and he just hasn't quite lived up to his hype yet. He's missed 2 field goals. I know he did make 2 this weekend, but like, he's still got to step it up a little bit.
Yeah, that one earlier in the game, I think it was 10-0, and if you would have made that have been 10-3, who knows? Like, sometimes little things like that, like missing a field goal, that can just take away all your momentum and kind of take away some confidence. So, like, Nebraska is really struggled with doing the little things right, and the little simple things. Troy was doing all the little simple things, and I think that's kind of how they ultimately won the game.
I mean, someone told me, like, during the game, like, this Troy team is not a fluke. Like, they were 11-2 last year. They won their conference title. They beat LSU. Like, they're not a bad team. But Nebraska should still have beat them. I know they're outmatched up front. That might have been why the offensive and defensive lines just weren't quite up to par. But, I mean, it's still one that this Nebraska team would like to have back. But they're going to have to move on to next week. We've got Michigan coming up this Saturday at 11 a.m., and that's going to be a big game. Michigan has been just kind of so far this year.
Yeah, but it kind of depends on the status of Adrian Martinez. If he can play, honestly, I think the Huskers have a chance against really any team. Because, like, they just seem like such a different team with him at being the starting quarterback. He, he pretty much made that offense go. He played really well, I feel, against Colorado. He made some mistakes, but he's a true freshman. You're going to have to expect it. I feel that's kind of happened in this game. Bunch, he's a walk-on. You don't really know what to expect from him.
He has had no college experience at all.
Except that little bit of minutes against Colorado. But kind of like looking, Nebraska, against Michigan, that could be a real tough. That's going to be a tough game up in the big house, It's never easy to win up there.
No, it's not. And, I mean, Michigan wants a big win of their own. They lost their chance against Notre Dame. And they're 2-1 on the season, but, I mean, they're raring to go. Like, this is Jim Harbaugh, has to have a good year. He's coming into his 4th season. He hasn't really done anything. He hasn't made it to the Big Ten championship yet. And so this team wants to win. These fans want to win. And when you have, still a solid Nebraska team coming in, I know they're not the same Nebraska as they have been in the past, but they still got a lot of fight in them. They still want to play well. They still want to win all these games. And they're going to have an excellent opportunity. Both teams have a good opportunity to do that here this weekend.
Yeah, so that's a really good opportunity, but kind of looking ahead a little bit, Nebraska plays Purdue. I think Nebraska can beat Purdue. Purdue has had a really struggling season as well as Nebraska. Yeah. Wisconsin, they just lost to BYU this weekend. That was kind of a shocker.
And, I mean, the whole Big Ten West this weekend was a shocker. Nobody... I mean, if you want to count Iowa, outside of them and about Illinois, everyone else played terrible. Northwestern lost to Akron as well.
Honestly,
Ohio State needed to win that game this weekend in order to show, hey, the Big Ten is still around. Because if Ohio State lost to TCU, this might have been the worst weekend we've seen the Big Ten have almost ever.
Yeah, it was not a good weekend at all. Ohio State looks like the best team. If I'm gonna say it, honestly, right now Iowa looks like the favorite in the Big Ten West. They've honestly played the best. Their defense is really up to standards. They honestly look like the best team in the West to me.
Yeah, and I mean, this Big Ten West is almost open to anybody at the moment. And
who knows, if Nebraska can pick it up a little bit. We even have a chance just because how bad the Big Ten West is.
Yeah, and I mean, this Nebraska team is just still trying to work out bugs. I mean, like everyone's been saying, you're going to have to trust this process with this team. I know we expected to win a lot of games this year, and it's just been kind of a sour start. But, like, you throw together players from 3 different coaching staffs. Like, you still have players that came here that were recruited by Bo Pelini. And, like, a lot of that offensive line, like Conrad, Foster, Farmer, those are all Bo Pelini players. You look at some of the secondary, like Luke Gifford, Freedom, Aaron Williams. These are all, like, players that came here because of Bo Pelini that were recruited by him. And you still have people living in the Mike Riley era. And once you come in here and you're trying to get a whole different culture change, it's going to take some time. And you can't really get down on this Nebraska team yet. They know they're not out of it. And they're going to have an opportunity to get their win this weekend against Michigan.
Yeah, I know right now it's kind of tough to be a Nebraska fan. Losing to Troy, it's never really acceptable to us. Honestly, losing in general just doesn't seem acceptable to fans, but I would not lose faith at all. This team still has a lot to look forward to. It might not get done this season. Scott Frost at Central Florida, they went 6-6 their first year. Like, it's not going to get done overnight. So we shouldn't lose any faith. Like, we have next year, we still have this season. They could maybe work out some kinks, and who knows, we could be a really good football team. So just pretty much just trust the process with Scott Frost, and I think, honestly, overall, I think we'll end up being all right.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned yet. I mean, if we lose these 2 games against Michigan and Purdue, that's when we can really say, well, are we okay here? Like, can we do something? But, I mean, I'm not going to be too mad if we lose again this weekend, unless we're making mistakes. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, you can get outplayed, but there's those games, like against Colorado and Troy, where you make mistakes, and I think that's where most Nebraska fans are going to get mad.
Yeah. But, honestly, don't lose anything. Like, last year, I want to kind of compare this Nebraska team maybe to kind of LSU. LSU last year had a new coach in Oregon. They lost to Troy. And then they ended up being one of the better teams in the SEC, beating 4 teams in the top 25. Like, there's still time to work stuff out.
Yeah. So, like we said, keep faith in this team. I mean, I think that's all you can do at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but still, there's a lot to look forward. There's still a lot to look forward to this year. We got some winnable games in like Purdue, Northwestern, Minnesota isn't really all that. Illinois, and I don't even know where Michigan State's at. So there's still a lot of chances to get to a bowl game. Just keep faith in the Huskers, and honestly, overall, I think it could be good.
All right, I think this is gonna wrap it up here. We'll be back next week with you with instant reaction from the Michigan game. And along with, that might be it next week. Anyways, stay tuned to the Wildcat Wire, episode 5 coming at some point next week. And we'll catch you guys later. Peace.